So I met the guy that ran the charity, and my brother-in-law, God rest his soul, he was ex-Special Forces. And so a lot of the guys knew each other, and we got chatting, and Mike, who runs the charity, turned around to me and said, well, I think you're a good fit. So what do you fancy doing? I said, I don't know. What do you do? And he said, well, 2 weeks time again, skydiving. Do you fancy doing that? I was like, well, I've never done it before, so why not? And I remember going home that night, and I said to Lou, oh, you never guess what I'm doing 2 weeks time. I said, she goes, what? So I'm going skydiving. And she's like, why do you want to go and do that? And I said, well, I've never done it. And she said, yeah, but you would never do that if you had legs and arms. And I kind of sat there and I thought, actually, you're right. At no point when I had legs and arms did I think that I'd get in a plane and jump out of it at 14,000 feet.
But tell us about some of those experiences, because considering your position, again, loads of people wouldn't do it anyway, just like you when you had your legs and your arms. What of the adventures that you've done have been your highlights?
I think the highlight, one of the best things we did was we kayaked around the southern tip of Greenland, and there was no information for a quadruple amputee of how to kayak. I remember going to a prosthetist up in Buckinghamshire, and they said, right, what can we do for you? And I said, well, I want to learn to hand cycle, and then I want to be able to then use the same arms to maybe do some kayaking with the military. And they looked at me and they said, well, you haven't got any hands. Well, I said, I'm well aware of that. I said, well, what can we do to make that possible? And they said, well, we don't know. We've never done it before. And I said, there must be information somewhere on how you transform me and give me the chance or the ability to cycle. And there wasn't any information. So we were setting the bar. So when I could hand cycle, we then adapted the arms to give me the ability to kayak. And that was the first trip that Chris, my best mate, and I went on with the military guys. And I kayaked around the southern tip of Greenland with my best mate behind me in the kayak. Because I'm a quadruple amputee, I'm incredibly hot. I have the same amount of blood, but it's got nowhere to go. So I remember I had a dry suit custom made. So they put me in the dry suit, they put me in the kayak, and off I go. And we kayaked for about 2 hours, and at the end of that session, I got out, and the temperature and the temperature got to about -6, and the light was fading. And as they got me out of the kayak, they unzipped me, and this plume of condensation came out. And I was so hot in the dry suit that all of a sudden I'm picked up, I'm rushed onto grass, I'm stripped naked within about 10 seconds. And then all of a sudden, all these boys are putting clothes on me. I'm like, what on earth is going on here? And they said, no, you don't understand. You can't be like that. You'll die of hypothermia. And at no point did I think that was a possibility. So the following day I woke up and the guy comes over to me. He said, well, what do you want to do? He said, you can't carry on in that dry suit. And I said, well, what are the options? He said, well, you can either do it in your shorts and t-shirt, but if you come out the kayak in the water, you probably got a minute before hypothermia sets in, and not at no point will one of us be close enough to you to be able to get you out of the water, to get you dry and get you clothed. So you'd be rescued and you'd be in a helicopter going somewhere. I said, what's the other option? He said, well, no, that's the only option. That's the only one you got. So for the next 8 days, I did it in shorts and t-shirt. And luckily for me, I didn't come out of the kayak. But I remember we were camping right by this glacier, and every 10 minutes or so it'd be like a volcano with a huge slabs of ice would drop into the water. And then the following day we kayaked towards the glacier, and we couldn't have timed it any better. A huge swathe of the glacier just completely dropped in front of us. It was like an avalanche of ice, and all of a sudden we're about 10 kayaks and we're facing these huge icebergs coming towards us. And the speed at which they got to you from like 500 meters away was unbelievable. And the ice was bumping into you, and it was just so exhilarating. It really was. And we had a whale track us on the last day, and he frolicked all around us, and he'd rise up, and we camped in a bay that night, and the whale actually came into the bay, flicked his dorsal fin off, and off he went. We never saw him again. This was like the stuff of dreams, absolute dreams. And I got to the top of a hill the following day with my best mate where we were camping, and we were looking out and watching the sunset. And I sat next to him and I said, in your wildest dreams, did you think you and I would ever do this? And And he went, no, we would never have done it. And I said, no, we're fools for not doing it. We were fools for not thinking about it, for not saying yes to things that came our way. And so from then we've kayaked along the Orange River in Namibia and the African border. 2019, I hand cycled up Ethiopia's highest mountain with a university research group and a double amputee from Ethiopia. Just incredible going through Ethiopia, and they'd never seen a quadruple amputee. So the visualization for them was frightening, and we set up a affordable wheelchair factory over there. So we're now making wheelchairs for about $200, whereas the chair that I'm sat in is about $9,000. So we've done some good work over there.
That's phenomenal. Hold on. So they over in Ethiopia, they've obviously not seen a quadruple amputee before, but you decided after doing that hand cycle up that mountain that you were going to get involved in working out how to produce these wheelchairs cost effectively.
Yeah. So the work that we did with the Pilgrim Bandits, like the trip to Greenland, the trip to Namibia and South Africa, they were great trips. But I sort of got to the point where I felt that it was all personal development. We weren't leaving anything behind. We were flying in, we were staying there for about 3 weeks, and then we were flying back out. And I thought, for me moving forward, that wasn't going to be enough. I felt that I could do so much more for disability, certainly. So the trip to Ethiopia, initially it was going to be a bit of a boys' adventure. We were going to do some hand cycling down to Lake Tana, then go from Lake Tana into the source of the Blue Nile, do some whitewater rafting and bits and pieces. And I said to the guy, I said, look, I think we can do more than that. And I think what I'd like to do, at that point I was involved in university research. I took a bit of a risk, well, not a risk, but I just thought, do you know what, maybe we could do some good work with universities. And it was just by chance. I met a really uber bright guy working at Imperial doing his PhD. And I went along and he said, look, we can't get guinea pigs. People just don't want to give up their time and work on these projects. And what we're trying to devise is systems that will help people with disability. And I said, well, I'll do it. I'll drive up and spend time with you. So that led from Imperial. We then got involved with Southampton and Bournemouth and Portsmouth and Loughborough, Lisbon, Ethiopia, universities all over the world. And the Southampton guys, I did a 6-month GBDP, they call it. And I said, look, I want you to devise a 4-wheeled hand cycle. It needs to be solar panelled. It needs to have some batteries on the back to give me assistance. And it's got to get up 30% gradient. And eventually we will take it to Ethiopia and we'll hand cycle up their highest mountain. So it was a bit of a pipe dream. It was a fag packet idea, to be honest. We presented to the university. Bless those students, they created an amazing vehicle. And that's what we did. We took it out. We raised money in London to fund the wheelchair facility. And we set that up when we were over there. And we cycled up their highest mountain, which is about 4,500 meters high. And it was just unbelievable. But what I loved about that trip to Ethiopia, and all my trips really, they've never been done before. So a quadruple amputee going around southern Greenland, never been done. Down the Orange River, never been done. Ethiopia, never been done. I should have gone to Mongolia this year to do an updated version of the hand cycle. And we were going to try and complete a 500-kilometer loop of the Gobi Desert, relying on solar charge only. Again, it's never been done. And I think I got the bug because I'm in a very fortunate position that I can use my arms, I can use my legs. There's no paralysis, everything moves. I just feel that I can leave more of a legacy behind on these trips, whether it be wheelchair factories, whether it's working with disability groups in different countries. I sort of envisage a network where it all stems from the UK, but we can give advice to a university in Bahidar in Ethiopia. We can give advice to a university in Mongolia that might be designing new prosthesis, all these sorts of things. So it got to a point where it's cool things, but also a legacy.
If you enjoyed this episode, then click over here where you'll be able to get more episodes. But if you want to, click over there where you can subscribe to my channel. Press the bell button and you'll be able to see all of the content as it's produced coming to you here on this channel.